Hello and welcome to Dragnet Live from OTRGold.com. I'm your host, Austin Bach. Happy Friday. Thank you for being here. Let me mute that and we'll get started. If you're new here and you'll see comments posted here on the side, there's normally a few already. We haven't had any roll in yet, but if you want to participate in the chat, you'll need to be streaming from the OTR Gold YouTube channel. If you're not watching this from OTR Gold, you will see the link to that video or the link to the channel in the description. So please check that out. Welcome, Addie. Thank you for being here. Life with Roscoe. Welcome. We got a fun program today. So this is an episode that I haven't listened to ahead of time. So I don't know how the episode's going to be, but afterwards I have some announcements to share. Uh, but yeah, for those that are new, if this is your first live stream, we're here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific, listening to one episode of Dragnet each live stream until we've listened to all 310 episodes currently available. So today's episode 39. The title is The Big Thank You. I'm still working on that double feature episode. I want to get it launched this week, so I got today and tomorrow to do it. Try not to do any work on Sunday, but stay tuned for that. And then, as I mentioned at the end of the stream, I will have a couple announcements to share, and they're kind of fun. I think they're fun. I'm excited about them. So I have a couple. Um, so the episode we're going to listen to today originally aired on Thursday, March 9th, 1950. And since the last episode of Dragnet, um, the National American Football League reverted to calling themselves just the NFL, the National Football League, after 3 months. So that was uh, the result of a merger between the National Football League and the American Football League, and they tried to do a um, they tried to do a um, they tried to combine their names, and I guess they just stuck with NFL after 3 months. March 6th, it's big for me. Silly Putty went on sale in the United States in 1950. Always a favorite toy. March 8th, the first woman medical officer was assigned to a naval vessel in the U.S. Navy. Now, let me check real quick the others. That was the historical events of the week. I want to check birthdays and any important weddings. I'm a little behind schedule, so let me scroll this page real quick. If you're wondering where I get my information from, it's from this website. I'll share the link here. It's called On This Day. Go here. This is the place. Yeah, on this day, they have some interesting stuff. Let's see. It does. I have to increase that watch time, got to get people to watch to the end, but I promise it'd be good. But you have to just listen to Dragnet in the meantime, so that's not too bad. Um, I lost my place. Sorry, guys. Okay. Oh, I was looking for birthdays and famous birthdays and famous weddings. So Karen Carpenter, the American pop vocalist and drummer, was born on March 2nd. Rick Perry, the American politician and governor of Texas, was born, former governor of Texas, was born March 4th, 1950. And that's it for that week. We have some other people that you'll recognize that are born later this month, but I'll save those till Monday's live stream. Oh, one of my favorite comedians was born in March, but not this week. Man, some good stuff. Okay, famous weddings. Ingrid. Oh, no, this didn't happen. Okay. Yep. So that's all the things of note that happened that week. So we will dive into it. And let's see. Addie says, "Are we doing a movie?" Hang on. I got to catch up on these comments. Am I having a baby? Okay, so I won't tell you what the thing is, but I'm not having a baby. Are we going to do a movie this weekend? Probably not this weekend. That's why I want to get that double feature out so we can watch that double feature together. But the week, maybe next weekend, it would be fun to do another movie. People were recommending one in the comments of the last video. I forget. It's like a woman's name. That's the name of the movie I want to look into. But I had fun on the movie night. I'd like to do it again. Okay, so I think we'll get started now. This is episode 39, The Big Thank You. Laura, yeah, thank you. Life with Roscoe. Okay, share my screen, we'll get going. Hello and welcome to Dragnet from otrgold.com. This episode will begin after a brief message from our sponsors. Hang on, sorry, the audio on.
The story you are about to hear is true. Only the names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Fatima Cigarettes, best of all long cigarettes, brings you Dragnet.
You're a detective sergeant. You're assigned to homicide detail. A confessed murderess is paroled from the state prison for women. After 7 months, the parole office loses contact with her. Your job, find her.
If you want a long cigarette, smoke the best of all long cigarettes. Smoke king-size Fatima. Fatima is the long cigarette which contains the finest Turkish and domestic tobaccos superbly blended to make Fatima extra mild. And that's why Fatima has a much different, much better flavor and aroma than any other long cigarette. That's why Fatima has more than doubled its smokers coast to coast. So enjoy Fatima, the best of all long cigarettes.
It's wise to smoke extra mild Fatima.
It's wise to smoke extra mild Fatima.
Dragnet, the documented drama of an actual crime. For the next 30 minutes, in cooperation with the Los Angeles Police Department, you will travel step by step on the side of the law through an actual case from official police files. From beginning to end, from crime to punishment, Dragnet is the story of your police force in action.
It was Thursday, March 9th. It was foggy in Los Angeles. We were working a day watch out of homicide detail. My partner's Ben Romero. The boss is Thad Brown, chief of detectives. My name's Friday. We were on our way back from the State Building, and it was 2:45 p.m. when we got to the City Hall, room 29. Handwriting analysis. Want to have a seat, Fred?
Okay, thanks.
I'll see if Don's around. Maybe in the back room.
All right.
Don Meyer. Don, you here?
Yeah, come in just a minute. Oh, hi, Ben.
Got a quick job for you, Don. Can you spare a few minutes?
Think so? Hi, Joe. Didn't
Hi.
see you.
I'd like to have you meet Fred Galloway, state parole. Fred, this is Don Myers, our handwriting man.
How are you?
Got a couple of signatures here. I'd like to have you check them now if you can.
No, I can try. Let's see what you got.
You want to show them, Fred?
Yeah. These 3 sheets here, Don, marked November, December, January. I'd like to know if the signatures on them compare with the signatures on these 2 here. They're marked February and March.
Let me see. Thanks. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, this shouldn't take long. Why don't you fellas have a seat? Huh?
Yeah, okay.
How's this thing shape up, Fred? You figure that the Johnson woman's jumped her parole?
Got me. I don't know what to think.
How long's it been since you got out of prison?
Well, let me check you out on the details. I got the dope right here.
All right, fine.
Annie Marie Johnson. She was sent up for a life term, 1933. Murdered her husband, John. Shot him to death. Started appealing for parole 1940. Finally won it May 14th last year. Paroled into the custody of Mrs. Laura Jean Muller.
Mm-hmm. Where does this Mrs. Muller live?
Down Wilmington. Old friend of the Johnson woman. She fought for 10 years to get her released from Tehachapi.
Have you been in touch with Mrs. Muller lately, Fred?
Only by mail. We've been sending her monthly report forms all along. She's the person that Annie Johnson was paroled to, so the form has to be filled out and then signed by Mrs. Muller and mailed back to me.
Yeah, I know. And that's where you figured that something was wrong.
Well, we got the February and March reports back from her on time, all the usual questions answered properly, and it was the signature. Writing didn't look like Mrs. Muller's at all.
You think the Johnson woman is faking the signature?
Maybe. Tried to contact the Muller house half a dozen times the past couple of days. Nobody home.
There you go, man.
You got it?
Yeah. Let me see. These 3 here, November, December, January, they were signed by the same person.
Yeah.
Signatures on the February and March reports. They're pretty bad imitations. One person signed these 2. Another person signed these. No match at all.
Well, then the signatures on the last 2 reports were forged.
I'd say so.
She went up for murder. That's your department. You want to run it down?
Sure.
What's it add up to?
Could be a lot of things. Could be nothing.
Annie Johnson ought to know. Ben and I checked out of the office and drove down to Wilmington. We located the home of Mr. and Mrs. Joseph Muller on Seaboard Drive, just off Anaheim Street. It was an old-fashioned 2-story house set back on a big corner lot along with plenty of shrubbery. It was a faded gray with lots of Victorian gingerbread hung all over it. Fancy carved gables, carriage driveway with hitching posts, and pieces of thick colored glass set in some kind of a design in the window of the front door. Out in the harbor beyond Terminal Island, you could hear the foghorns.
They sure get the fog out here, don't they?
It's pretty thick today. My aunt used to live just above here, Grant Avenue.
Oh, uh-huh.
Couldn't take the fog, so she moved out the valley.
Garden could stand some taking care of.
Yeah, the weeds are doing fine. Want to try it again?
What do you think?
Let's try the neighbors, huh?
Yeah, all right. That house across the street must be somebody there. I saw a woman shaking a dust mop out the window when we drove up.
All right. Kind of a bleak-looking spot up here on the hill, isn't it? Not many houses around.
Yeah, and this fog's doing nothing for me. Chills you right down to the bone.
What's the name on the mailbox there?
Let's see. Miss Flora Carpenter.
Well, maybe she can tell us something.
Are you the sewing machine man?
No, ma'am. We're police officers. Like to ask you a few questions.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you came about my singer.
No, ma'am.
I can't do any more work on my pleasant skirt until the machine's fixed. And it has to be done by Saturday. Our folk dancing group's having a big jamboree Saturday night. Will you step inside?
Thank you. This is Sergeant Romero. My name's Friday.
Oh, how do you do? Oh, fog's so refreshing, isn't it? Very vitalizing.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you acquainted with Mr. and Mrs. Muller across the street, Miss Carpenter?
The Muellers? Yes, I've known them for years.
And they have an Annie Johnson living with them?
Yes, one of my very good friends.
She's employed as a housemaid for the Mullers, is that right?
Well, I guess you could call it that. Actually, she's more of a companion to Mrs. Mueller since poor Mr. Mueller got sick.
What's his trouble?
His mind. Poor man just lost his senses. He's at the state hospital at Norwalk.
Mm-hmm. When did they send him there?
Let me see. This is March. It must have been last November. Yes, became violent.
Do you know where Mrs. Muller is now?
In the sanitarium out near Pasadena. Not well at all.
And Annie Johnson, is she still living at the Muller's house across the street?
Oh, yes. She went downtown to do some shopping today.
Did she say when she'd be back?
Well, no, she didn't, but we have a meeting of our book appreciation club at 8:30 tonight here at my house, and I certainly don't think she'd miss the meeting.
I see.
Miss Carpenter, do you happen to know the name of the sanitarium where Miss Muller's staying?
Garraway's. That's what Annie told me. Garraway's Rest Home out by Pasadena.
Mm-hmm. Have any of the neighbors been out to visit her?
Well, no, we haven't. Annie said the doctors there thought it'd be better if Mrs. Mueller didn't have visitors.
I see. I wonder if you'd tell us where we could find a public telephone in the neighborhood.
Oh, you can use my phone, Sergeant. It's right back there in the hall.
Fine, thank you.
I'll call him, Joe.
All right.
I'll have the operator charge it to our office.
You sure you can find your way back there, Sergeant? It's right under General Pershing's picture.
Yes, ma'am. No trouble.
I was just thinking, Sergeant Friday.
Yes, ma'am.
Would you know anything about repairing sewing machines?
No, I'm afraid not.
Oh. Well, Fluffy, there you are. This is Annie Johnson's cat, Sergeant. Isn't he simply gorgeous? Look at that fur.
Yes, ma'am. It's a nice cat.
Genuine Persian. Annie brought him with her when she came to live with the Muellers.
Did Mrs. Johnson and Mrs. Muller always seem to get along fairly well together to you? I mean, no arguments?
Oh, my, no. Annie's the easiest person in the world to get along with. All us girls in the neighborhood just adore her.
Joe.
Did you talk to sanitarium?
Yeah, I double-checked the name.
Yeah?
Mrs. Muller's not there. They never heard of her.
Ben and I left and interviewed some of the other people in the neighborhood. They all had the same high opinion of Annie Johnson as Miss Carpenter did. They all had the impression that Mrs. Muller was under doctor's care at the Garraway Rest Home in Pasadena. Annie Johnson told them so. We found out that Mrs. Muller had one other living relative besides her husband, a niece, Lorraine Muller. She lived out on Norwich Drive in Beverly Hills. 5:30 p.m., Ben and I drove back to the office and made a spot check of every private rest home and sanitarium listed in the Los Angeles area. Mrs. Muller wasn't at any of them. We called the state hospital at Norwalk, and they informed us that Joseph Muller was there, having been committed the 2nd of November the previous year. He was critically ill. We put in another call to the Muller home. Still no answer. 6:15 p.m., we drove out to Beverly Hills to the home of Mrs. Muller's niece, Lorraine. She was a tall, good-looking girl with blonde hair and a bad cough.
I don't think I can help you, Sergeant. I moved out of my aunt's house 3 months ago. I haven't seen her since.
Were you staying at the house when Annie Johnson came to live there?
I was raised in that house. Mother and Dad died when I was a baby, and Uncle Joe and Aunt Laura took care of me. They're wonderful people.
Would you mind telling us why you moved?
I don't mind. Everything was fine until Annie Johnson came. I didn't get along with her. We fought all the time.
Oh, is that so?
I don't know why. I just didn't like her. When Annie moved in, she just took over the whole house.
What's the connection between your aunt and Mrs. Johnson? Any blood relationship there?
No. Annie was a school chum of Aunt Laura's. When they sent her to prison for killing her husband, she wrote for help.
And your aunt helped her?
She worked for 11 years at it. I don't know how much money she spent. Lawyers, you know.
Yeah.
She finally got Annie parole.
And then she took Mrs. Johnson on as a housekeeper, is that right?
Yeah. She never did any work. She acted like she owned the house. Like my aunt and uncle owed her everything they'd done for her.
When's the last time you heard from your aunt?
It was a few months ago, around Christmas time. I called her up to wish her a Merry Christmas.
You have no idea where Mrs. Muller might be now? Some friends that she could be staying with, maybe?
No. Aunt Laura only has a few friends. They all live in the neighborhood.
She's not in the habit of going off without telling anyone, is she?
No, never anything like that. I don't understand it. Something must be wrong. Annie, do you think she's done something?
Do you?
No, she couldn't have. She owes everything to Aunt Laura. Her freedom, a good home, nice clothes, money. Everything my aunt could give her.
Some people are like that. If it's free, they never get too much. Before we left Lorraine Muller's house, we got the name of her aunt's lawyer. We had dinner at a lunch counter on La Cienega, and then we drove back to Wilmington to the Muller house. Lights were burning in the front windows. The fog was thick now.
Guess that's her singing.
Yeah. You want to ring the bell?
Mm-hmm. Can you see in through the curtains, Joe?
Yeah, she didn't hear it. Let's ring it again. Yeah, here she comes.
Yes?
Are you Mrs. Johnson?
Yes, that's right. What is it?
Police officers, our identification.
Oh. Yes, won't you come in?
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
We'll go in the parlor, shall we?
All right.
No.
For February and March,
Yes?
we think the signatures on those 2 reports are forged.
Oh, those.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes. I don't know what to say. I really didn't think it was that serious. I knew the reports had to be sent in.
Did you sign Mrs. Muller's name on them?
Well, yes, I did. You see, Laura Muller's at a sanitarium now, resting up.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to bother her with all this business, so I signed them and put them in the mail. But forgery, I didn't think it was that serious.
Mm-hmm. Which sanitarium is Mrs. Muller staying at?
Garraway's. A very nice place. It's near Pasadena. She's been there about 2 months now.
Have you been out to visit her yet?
No, I haven't. I'm a little ashamed of myself. I've just been too busy keeping up the house here. It's lots of work.
Yes, I understand. I suppose you drove Mrs. Muller to the sanitarium.
As a matter of fact, I didn't. You see, we don't have a car, so she took a taxi cab.
Have you telephoned Mrs. Muller at the sanitarium?
Yes, just once, the day she went in. She's there for a good rest. I don't feel that anyone should bother her. Not even myself.
Does she have any other relatives? Besides her husband, that is.
None at all. Poor Mr. Muller. We had to send him away, you know, to Warwick State Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am.
It got out of hand. Just terrible. He almost murdered poor Laura once, and those were awful days. He's much better off where he is.
Yeah, it's too bad. Well, that's about all, Miss Johnson.
Oh, here. Let me show you to the door.
Thanks. You'd better contact your parole officer the first thing in the morning and clear up this matter of the reports.
I'll do that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Good night, Miss Johnson. Thanks again.
All right. Good night.
What time you got?
20 minutes after 8. Light just went on in the attic.
Yeah.
What do you think?
We better go take a look around.
What do you think we'll find?
I don't know. Maybe a reason for some of those lies she told us. 8:35 p.m. Annie Johnson left the house and crossed the street to Miss Carpenter's place. In the Muller house, in a small desk in one of the rear bedrooms on the first floor, we found a file for Mrs. Muller's business papers. In the file, we located 3 of her insurance policies. There was one for $5,000 and 2 for $3,500. Each policy had a rider attached, changing the beneficiary from Joseph Muller, the husband, to Annie Johnson.
$12,000 worth of insurance.
Yeah, let's get them back in this folder. Did you get the policy numbers?
Yeah. What's this?
Let's see. Phone bill. Light bill. Here's one.
Labor bill. $1 an hour paid to Tom McCrae, charged to Annie Johnson.
Uh-huh. Let's go.
Yeah, I want to get this address here. Tom McCrae, East Jefferson.
Mm-hmm.
There's her cat.
Yeah, let's go see what we can find upstairs, huh?
It's a pretty cat.
We went upstairs to the second floor of the house and searched the rooms. We went up another flight of stairs to the attic. For a full half hour, we searched through dozens of corrugated cartons crammed with souvenirs and picture postcards.
Joe, come here.
Yeah.
Take a look. Wrapped in newspaper.
3220 Colt.
3 empty cartridges.
Mm-hmm. We got a gun and we got a suspect.
Those insurance policies could be the motive.
Let's pray to God there's no victim.
You are listening to Dragnet for the step-by-step solution to an actual police case. Here, step by step, are the reasons why Fatima has more than doubled its smokers from coast to coast.
Step 1.
The name Fatima has always stood for the best in cigarette quality.
Step 2.
Long cigarette smokers discover Fatima has a much different, much better flavor and aroma.
Step 3.
Long cigarette smokers find Fatima extra mild. Fatima is the long cigarette which contains the finest Turkish and domestic tobaccos superbly blended to make Fatima extra mild.
And that's why more and more smokers every day agree
it's wise to smoke extra mild Fatima.
It's wise to smoke extra mild Fatima.
Yes, the name Fatima on that golden yellow package is your insurance of an extra mild smoke.
So enjoy king-size Fatima, the best of all long cigarettes.
10 p.m. An immediate stakeout was placed on the Muller residence in case Annie Johnson made an attempt to leave during the night. Ben and I took the gun that we'd found to the crime lab for analysis. The next morning, we checked with the Muller's family attorney. He had no idea as to the whereabouts of Mrs. Muller, but he told us that about 3 months ago, she'd ordered him to draw up a new will for her. Under the new provisions, Annie Johnson was to be the sole heir of the Muller house and property, plus an additional $1,500 in bonds. Friday, March 10th, 11 a.m. While Ben checked with the insurance company, I met with Captain Elliott of Homicide.
You got everything but a victim, huh? Where are you looking?
We'd like to shake down the Muller house again before we look anyplace else. Didn't have a chance to give it a thorough going over last night.
You're sold on the idea it's a Johnson woman?
Looks like it.
Sure it couldn't be a freak disappearance?
No, sir, not in my book. Annie Johnson's got some big reasons for lying to us. I'd like to find them.
How do you figure on doing that?
Well, if we could pull her in and question her, just to get her away from the Muller place, I'd like to take a detail of men out there and shake the house from top to bottom.
Just checked with the insurance companies that issued Miss Muller's policies.
Yeah.
And we got it right. Annie Johnson gets the dough if Mrs. Muller dies.
Oh.
Something else. The changes in the policies were made during the last 2 months at her home. It doesn't jive.
Why not?
Well, Annie Johnson told us that Mrs. Muller's been in the sanitarium for more than 2 months.
Here's a capper, Joe.
What's that?
Gil and Cenas went out to State Hospital at Norwalk to talk to Mr. Muller.
Yeah?
Joseph Muller died at 8 o'clock last night. Death from natural causes.
What's that prove?
Wait a minute. When Joseph Muller was committed to the institution, Annie Johnson figured prominently in that commitment. She had a lot to do with sending him away.
Didn't take any chances, did she?
Annie Johnson is left with the house, the bonds, and the insurance money. She had all the answers.
Yeah, all but the right one.
While Captain Elliott called in Annie Johnson and questioned her, Ben and I, together with a detail of men from Homicide and Lieutenant Lee Jones from the crime lab, drove out to Wilmington and started a thorough search of the Muller house. We took it floor by floor, starting with the attic. By 4 o'clock that afternoon, we had searched the attic and the second floor completely without finding any additional physical evidence. 5:30 p.m., still nothing. The fog was coming in thick now. Captain Elliott called and said the Johnson woman was on her way home. The search went on.
Anyone checked the cellar yet?
Let's give it a look, huh?
Joe, come on down. Lee's with me. We're checking some stains.
What do you got, Lee?
Picked up this line of stains here, Joe. They run down from the top of the stairs. Pretty faint.
Let me see. Mm-hmm.
Try a few drops of benzodine, see what happens.
Okay. Let's have a look around, Gil, see what we can find.
There's no lights down here. You'll have to use your flash.
I got one.
Well, not much of anything, is it?
Guess they use the attic for their storage place.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Put the light over this way, will you, Gil? No, in the corner. That's it.
See something?
I don't know. Yeah, have a look here.
New patch of cement. Looks pretty new alongside the rest.
Yeah.
There's a sledge and a couple of shovels back in the garage.
Get them, will you?
Yeah.
Joe,
Yeah.
stains turned blue. It's blood.
Lee Jones took some sample scrapings and went back to the crime lab to give them a precipitant test to determine if the stains were made by human or animal blood. We broke away the patch of new cement work in the cellar and we began digging. 6:30 p.m. Annie Johnson came home. We met her in the living room.
Sergeant, I wonder if you'd mind explaining this intrusion.
No, not at all. Will you sit down?
I believe I'm the one to offer hospitality here. It's my house.
Is it, Miss Johnson?
Well, it's in my charge. It's my responsibility.
Yes, ma'am, it is. We'd just like to clear up a few things, that's all.
I think the police department's taken up enough of my time. I spent half the day at the city hall answering silly questions. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have an appointment at the beauty shop at 7 o'clock.
Maybe you better cancel it.
I don't see any reason why I should. What is that noise? Coming from the cellar. Someone's down there.
They're police officers, Miss Johnson. We're searching the house.
Searching this house? With whose permission?
Maybe they didn't make it clear to you downtown. We've got a good reason to believe that a crime's been committed.
Why?
Mrs. Muller. She's missing.
I told your Captain Elliott this afternoon. Laura could have left the sanitarium. She might have gone east to visit some friends in Cincinnati, I think. She has some friends in Cincinnati.
How could Mrs. Muller leave the sanitarium? She was never there.
Maybe she didn't stay at Garraway's. Could have been another rest home.
But she said you phoned her at Garraway's. You said you talked to her there.
Those men downstairs, they're going to dig up the whole house?
That's right.
This bill, Mrs. Johnson, would you mind telling us what it was for?
And there was a section of the cellar floor. It had never been cemented. I decided to have it done while Laura was away.
The men are digging it up, Miss Johnson.
Well, why are they digging it up? What right have they?
Investigation. We'll see that the cement work is redone when we're finished.
Well, this is impossible. I forbid it. This house is my responsibility.
No need to worry. Everything will be left exactly the way it was. We'll leave the house just as soon as the men are finished.
Oh, well, then perhaps I can keep my appointment with the hairdresser. I won't be long. Should be back around 9.
I'm sorry. I think you better stay.
But I've told you everything I know.
Did you kill Laura Muller?
Did I kill... I can't take any more of this. Why would I want to kill Laura? She's done everything for me. She's given me a new life.
Did you kill her?
I know, of course I didn't kill her.
Well, then there's no need to be upset.
Oh, my nerves. I got to have something. Glass of sherry. Yes. Digging. How long is it going to take them?
That all depends, ma'am.
There's no reason for this. You don't know that anything's happened to Laura.
That's right.
Laura's the best friend I have in the world. 11 years. That's how long she fought to make them let me out of prison. She's the only one who believed in me.
Yes, ma'am.
She is. She's given me everything. She wants me to have everything. Everything I want. I wouldn't have a reason for killing her. Why, my clothes, my home here, money. They're all Laura. She's given them to me. Would you like a glass of sherry, Sergeant Pratty?
No, thanks.
You know, Laura was much older than I, Sergeant. She could have taken her own life. She didn't have much to live for. Old and sick. But I got everything to live for. Laura used to tell me that. So she gave me everything. Laura was much older than I. Would you care for a glass of sherry, Sergeant Romero?
No, thank you.
This whole thing's so silly. Laura's away on a trip. She's much older than I am, you know. I'm 38. You wouldn't take me for a woman 38 years old, would you, Sergeant?
No, ma'am.
I know I'm not really young anymore, but I'm still attractive, don't you think? A lot of men prefer mature women. Women with experience, background. I'd know how to take care of a man.
Joe.
Yeah.
Joe, come here, my way.
Yeah?
We found her.
To live for. She wanted to die.
Call the coroner, Gil.
Yo. Let's go, Miss Johnson.
Laura wouldn't want this. She knows I didn't mean it. She's the only one who knows what I went through. Years in prison. Laura understood me. She gave me everything.
Yes, she did.
Ask anybody. They all know how Laura felt about me. Ask anybody.
We can't ask her.
The story you have just heard was true. Only the names were changed to protect the innocent.
On July 14th, trial was held in Superior Court, City and County of Los Angeles, State of California. In a moment, the results of that trial.
It's amazing how many long cigarette smokers are changing to Fatima. Here is the actual report.
From coast to coast, king-size Fatima has more than doubled its smokers.
Yes, more and more smokers every day are discovering that Fatima is the best of all long cigarettes.
Long cigarette smokers find Fatima has a much different, much better flavor and aroma.
Long cigarette smokers find that Fatima is extra mild because it's the long cigarette which contains the finest Turkish and domestic tobaccos superbly blended to make it extra mild.
So enjoy extra mild Fatima. Best of all long cigarettes.
It's wise to smoke extra mild Fatima.
It's wise to smoke extra mild Fatima.
Annie Marie Johnson was tried and convicted of murder in the first degree. She was executed in the lethal gas chamber at the state penitentiary, San Quentin, California. You have just heard Dragnet, authentic cases from official files. Technical advice for Dragnet comes from the Office of Chief of Police W.A. Wharton, Los Angeles Police Department.
Dragnet wishes to thank the editors of Radio Television Life magazine. They have judged Dragnet the outstanding new program of the past radio season.
Fatima Cigarettes, the best of all long cigarettes, has brought you Dragnet from Los Angeles.
Tomorrow, hear the Ronald Coleman's charming series, The Halls of Ivy, on NBC.
All right. How's everyone doing? Had a fun chat going today. I'm on the hunt for contact information for Peggy Weber. Got a couple leads. I'm gonna reach out to the last known person to interview her, and then she has a LinkedIn page. I don't know how active she is, but I'm going to send her a connection request and an invite. Tell her that I got a bunch of Dragnet friends that want to learn more about her work on that show and radio in general. Maybe we pepper her with questions about the Foley artists and how they make some of those sounds. I'm gonna just, worst that can happen is I don't hear anything back or I get a no, but that's pretty low stakes. So we're gonna do this. Hopefully we get somewhere and we can have the legend Peggy Weber here on a future stream. As I shared in a previous live stream, I missed out on. I had been kind of thinking about doing these live streams before and building something. I thought, oh, wouldn't it be great if I could get Angela Lansbury on the stream because some of her earliest work was in radio. Well, I dragged my feet too long. I started my first channel in this. I started the Old Time Radio Archive 7 years ago, and had I done something 7 years ago, maybe. I mean, it's still a long shot. She's like this Hollywood star, and this nobody. I won't say nobody, but like I have zero fame, zero credibility anywhere. But that ship has sailed, the door has closed. But we've got somebody here. We've got somebody here that is a legend in radio that maybe we can get on. And she also had a film career as well, but I mean, we know her from Dragnet. So send me all your good vibes. Yeah, and hopefully we get somewhere with this. Okay, so news. And I'll address this one real quick. Have I considered doing daily live streams, or would that be too much? I've considered it, and maybe, yeah. And I might increase it in the future, but what I'm trying to find a balance with is when stuff is live, as you're well aware, you got to be at a certain spot at a particular time of day. And one thing I value very highly in my life is flexibility And especially with little kids, I like being able to just adapt to whatever's happening. So the more I commit to a fixed um, schedule, the less flexible my life is. But I enjoy these a lot. So I debate in my head, like, do I do more or not? The last thing I want to do is say, "Oh, we're gonna do 5 days a week," and then not or be inconsistent. I'd rather commit to less, but be very consistent with it because I appreciate everyone else blocking time on their schedules to be here. Whether or not you're blocked time or whatever, I appreciate you being here and seeing the same group of people over and over. It's fun because we get to carry on conversations from previous weeks. We start developing kind of some inside jokes and stuff. So it's fun. Um, hello from Dallas. And Roscoe, yes, I also missed out on Jim French, but I didn't know that I was missing out on Jim French till after he passed. And then I realized he had this big background in radio. But that one was crazy because we were literally like our paths crossed. Okay. So to the news, the people are that I teased at the beginning. I'm wearing a sweatshirt. Look at this sweatshirt. It's a gold. This color is actually called gold, and this is an OTR gold radio, vintage radio T-shirt or sweatshirt. So, announcement number 1 is I've launched a merch site. It just has a few pieces in there right now. I'm gonna eventually the URL will change in the future because right now it's just a I'm using a print on demand service called Printify. Print on demand is nice because I don't have to hold inventory, and when the channel's small like this, I don't want to have to do some minimum order of some quantity and then get it in all different colors and all different sizes and hope that they sell. So the downside is the prices are, because it's one of one, whatever you buy, they like make it and ship it to you. It's a bit pricier than what I wanted or what I was hoping for, like a price target. But as like a to launch, I have I have 4 items up there. It's got a temporary sale on it, 15% off. Here, actually, let me try and share my screen. And I will explain what we got here. So this is it. We got 4 things. They're currently 15% off just through the weekend. Let me zoom up. But we got the regular logo and in sweatshirt and hoodie, and you click in here and they have different colors. So like they got the gold that I'm wearing, but this is a different one. Gold, black, green, blue, red. And I'm using Printify, which is the print on demand thing. They came up with these names, which are kind of cool. I don't know why it's called bottle green, but it's kind of this cool color. Anyway, so there's that. These are just the 4 items right now. I do want to get those. I do want to get some mugs, but the mugs that they do through print on demand is just, it's completely smooth. It's not the type of mug that I like. The other one that I'm thinking about that I shared pictures with before, they have like a minimum order quantity of like, I can't remember what the thing is. It's like 500 or something, which is quite a bit to commit to. But as the numbers grow of subscribers to this channel, I will at some point do that because I want one for myself. I want one of those things. Amazon merch, I will try as well. I think that wasn't like open enrollment when I looked. I'll check again. But Printify was the one that they would take anybody. So that's there if any of those are of interest to you, and please consider getting one. Otherwise, no pressure. I just like you being here to I just like the conversation. I like seeing everybody. Do pre-orders, then order. Yeah. I'm considering that as well on the mugs. I just need to I need to set up like a Shopify site or something for that because I have to collect orders separate from the main thing. I'm too young to know what bottle green is. Is this like Is it bottle green like the recyclable glass bottles? That's what we're talking about? Or is there something else I'm missing? But yeah, I don't understand why it's called bottle green. I'm a child of the late 80s. So that places me on the timeline somewhere. What else? And I forgot to mention the radio giveaways. So we are over 3,100 subscribers. I shipped out the last winner's radio yesterday. So Keltoid, if you're listening, your radio's on the way. These are the 3 we got up for grabs. When we hit 4,000, we're going to give away one of these. We'll do a giveaway. So if you haven't subscribed yet and you tune in frequently, please subscribe. You might get one of these. You help grow the channel, and then you might get a radio out of it. Sweet. Beer was shipped in green bottles to keep the sunlight out. Okay. But then but now they're primarily in cans, so it doesn't matter, I guess. I mean, I guess beer in bottles is still in brown. But okay. So get the beer bottle green shirt if you want. Yeah, so those are just the first 4 things there. I was actually wearing a different sweatshirt a couple streams back. It's like forest green, and it had forest green and black, but I was trying a different brand of sweatshirt blank, and it didn't fit super well. I didn't like it, so I tried another one, and I landed on the one that I'm wearing now, and I think it feels good. It showed up yesterday, so I was stoked, and I liked it, so then I thought I'd make it available. But yeah, I'm gonna try and make some fun things for this community. Oh, that was the other thing I was gonna show you. I also have a sneak peek on some illustrations. So I worked with an illustrator to make both the channel logo and then this radio version. But he was also helping me. If you click now into the channel, you see the channel banner. He helped me create that banner that we just finished yesterday. And then he also helped me create these illustrations that represent different genres of old time radio content, which I'll share my screen so you can see. And I'm planning to make a sticker sheet out of it and then use those items in other patterns as well. Give me 1 second. I will show you what I'm talking about. Window. Okay, so this right here, this is the like news and current events. So since we're talking like the 30s, 40s, and 50s, kind of the beginning of the atomic era, I asked him to create this atom, this representation of an atom. Here's the investigator, like spyglass, detective type series, more like the Sherlock Holmes series, which we haven't done. But that's that illustration. Of course, Westerns. Shout out to Gunsmoke. This is one. This one's kind of cool. It's like a, suspense type murder story. Dragnet, of course. It's more like a 1920s car. So like this car might, they're probably driving something different, but maybe this is earlier. This is like a gangbusters type car right here. Get that vintage cop feel. This is a version of, what I have on my sweatshirt, but this is kind of a more modern radio. Like this, the first portable radios, as far as I can tell, were made in the 1960s. So, yeah, but it came with a handle and everything. So there's that one. And then comedy. We're trying to figure out how do we represent comedy, and I didn't want to just do like the happy and sad like theater masks that you see often. So we thought about we thought, like, what are other things that represent comedy? And the illustrator I was working with suggested a rubber chicken, and I thought it was hilarious. But first thing we had to do was figure out, when did they invent the rubber chicken? So pop quiz, without looking it up, when was the rubber chicken invented? Because we needed to figure out if it was um, true to the time. Like, if something was created later, in the 70s or 60s, we didn't want to use it because we're looking for a chubber ricken, because we're looking for stuff that feels authentic to the time. And according to our research, let's see, we'll give people some time to respond to that one. Make your guesses. Then we have the skull for horror type stuff, and each of these illustrations, we're going to use in a pattern. It'll also be on a sticker sheet, but if people are interested, we could also do them as like standalone illustrations on a sweatshirt or a hoodie or a t-shirt, something like that. Sci-fi, here's our Dimension X type alien spaceship. And then since so much of this, aside from cigarette commercials, I feel like one other thing that pops up a lot in the old time radio, um, shows, is updates about the war, or buy war bonds, or you're listening to it on the Armed Forces radio service. So these things are, just represent that, all the military stuff that was going on during the time. And then so combined all those into a pattern like this, you'll see this pattern pop up different places, like maybe there one of the things Printify offers is actually socks. So I was gonna make these pattern socks just for myself and put them up there in case anybody else wanted them, because I kind of fell in love with these little illustrations as we created them. And then here's something similar to the channel banner that you see. It's a slightly different color tone, but he also helped me. He also created these line drawings for me, things that are more radio specific, but just cool stuff. Yeah. So to answer your question, Joshua, yeah, I launched a merch store, which is 4 items right now. We want to do some mugs. I definitely want mugs and like a coaster in the future, but I want to do like the ceramic thing. So I'll probably have to do a pre-order on that to make sure we have enough quantities. But yeah, if people like this wallpaper, I could share this image out on the community chat, so you could put it on the background of your phone or something. But I think that one's probably a little crazy for the background of a phone, but maybe this would work. Or there's also an alternative that has a lighter color tone that I could share if people want that. But that's some of the fun stuff I've been working on, and just behind the scenes, and wanted to share with my friends, with my online friends. So I like this. Don't threaten me with a good time. I will definitely buy OTR socks. Yeah, I thought they were cool. I mean, we could even do it, could be a 2-pack with this lighter pattern that I was just showing, and the other one. But yeah, lots of fun things to experiment with. But so check those out if you're interested. Otherwise, you just being here, tuning in weekly, that's supporting the channel as well, and I appreciate every little thing that everybody does. So let me check my notes, make sure I didn't miss anything before I sign off. Talked about the radio giveaway, talked about the illustrations in the merch store. Oh, this particular episode, what is one of the only episodes that directly mentions the case it was based on, or at least maybe not directly in the episode itself, but like the creators of the show talk about it, at least according to Wikipedia. And this story is based on Luis Pete. I will copy this hyperlink if you want to go down a rabbit hole this weekend. The episode we just listened to was based on the life of this woman right here, who was a serial killer a long time ago. Anyway, that's all I have to share. Hopefully that was an announcement worth waiting, for to the end of the episode or to the end of the live stream. Yes, please hit the like. Please add a comment. Let me know what your favorite part was. And any sort of interaction with the video helps boost it to other people on YouTube and helps us grow our audience. So I want to say hi to my friends real quick. We're just going to take a quick peek just right here. Just say hello. My daughter. She came in. Anyway, I've got to drop, but thank you all very much. I'm going to be editing that video, and I want to get it up this weekend so you can see the attempted City Hall bombing, the radio show, and then the TV adaptation of the same episode. And if people like that, we can do more of that content. Great. And then just as a reminder, if you are interested in the merch, there's a 15% off promo right now, but it'll end just through the weekend. So check that out if you want to. Thank you all very much for being here. Have a great weekend, and I will see